Aloha kako. Welcome to Kanakanology. Tonight, we're very pleased and honored to have Molokaiʻ in the house. We have Maile Naehu with us. She's an educator and a community person on Molokaiʻ, and she's here to share part of her journey and work with us. So welcome, mahalo for joining us tonight, Maile.
Mahalo. Mahalo for asking me.
Oh, we're so glad. You know, I've been following you on Facebook, especially as you shared right when the pandemic began. You began Kahale Hoaka and
Kalamai.
oh no.
Who am I making kukui? Kalamai. It's kind of windy.
That's okay. In the elements is good.
What is the name of the wind?
Ma'ani'i, it's alopali in Honolulu. We have alopali. Yeah.
Alopali.
So we get our weather system straight across from Honolulu and Kakuloa, and it comes straight across to my valley. Yeah, we share a system with that side of Maui.
Yeah.
Wow.
My family is from Honokohau, Kapaku.
Oh, that's where my ohana is from too. Kaohana Pali.
Oh, yeah.
Pali.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
there's Pali in Honokohau and Kahoma. But yeah.
Aloha.
Aloha, Kalamai, off the subject.
They're cousins.
No. On the subject. Off the on.
Oh,
sorry.
No, that's so good, Maikai. So tell us, Maile, about your beginnings. I know you know, where did you grow up? Have you always been a Molokaiʻ?
No, I haven't. I actually was born in Waikiki.
Wow.
At the old Kaiser Hospital where the Ilikai stay. That's why they call it Kaiser Bowls, because that was the Kaiser Hospital right there. So Waikiki is my oneha now. I was raised in Ewa in Honolulu, very close to Campbell High School. My parents actually, before I was the youngest of four, I'm the muliloa, and my parents were living in Palolo housing prior to having me with the three older keiki. And so they had this big announcement that was going to have affordable housing out Ewa. Leeward Estates, they called it, which is right next to Campbell High School, Imiloa, North Road, all between military bases. So they moved there right before I was born. So that's the life that I knew for the first 15 years of my life. And even after my parents split, my father stayed in Ewa. So Ewa has a very dear place in my heart. But like I said, it was surreal because I was catching a bus from kindergarten to go to Kapalama every day. So I was very raised almost like in this bubble within Ewa, but my parents still made sure we played Bobby Sox. My mom coached Bobby Sox and fun every year. My sister was all Bobby Sox. We were very involved. My parents were in the JCs, used to Ewa Beach JCs and throw those big carnivals. So that's the kind of life I grew up with, but still going all the way to Kamehameha, all the way through most of my life. And so me and my brother got in. My two older siblings went to Lanakila Baptist, right in Ewa town. So I spent a lot of time in that old Ewa town, the original Ewa. We still get the train tracks and all of that. And so now when I go back home, I actually get lost. It's very different from when I left. So it was still chicken farms and the smell of pig farms and the slaughterhouse. I think the slaughterhouse might still be there. But was real different growing up in Ewa, and so I had this city education going into Kapalama every day, and a lot of friends who were from very far off. Kaneohe was my closest friend. My ho'opili is Noe, Goodyear Ka'opua. From Bebe days, Dr. Noelani Goodyear Ka'opua. And so I would go sleep her house all the way in Kaneohe. She lived He'eia. And I'm all the way in Honolulu. And so that was the life that I led, growing up, was that I was blessed with the education of Kamehameha. My dad was a blue collar worker. He worked at the old Primo Brewery in Waimalu. And my mother was a stay-home wife. Like I said, they moved from Palolo into Ewa, and we lived a real simple, humble lifestyle. My dad worked very hard. My mom worked just as hard at home. And we grew a lot of our own foods. My dad would fish a lot. So a common thing we would do was, when you're in Honolulu, you're kind of limited. Like I said, you're restricted of all the coastline because of Barbers Point, Iroquois Point. And that's when it wasn't open. And then, you get Lualuale, farther down the coast. And so we would go in these little pockets of places where we would fish. And I remember going to like Campbell Industrial Park, going off the piers over there. And then where the Germain's Luau, I guess that's Ko'olina now. It wasn't there before. And just very fond memories of spending our weekends out along that coastline all the way to Poka'ibe. That was an every weekend thing. And driving home in the back of my dad's truck, and just really nice memories, of how Eva and Nanakuli and Waianae side used to be. Sugarcane fields and just so black you could see every star in the sky. And so when I go back to Kapolei area and all these areas where I have such fond memories, it's foreign to me. And so I guess that goes back to maybe one of the reasons as I was growing up that I always felt like I had a fondness for mo'olelo, because mo'olelo allowed me a glimpse into how things used to be. And I'm very nostalgic in that way. And so I guess that's why I'm reliving all these memories that I never talk about, but very fond memories that I think it happened so fast, the development of that side of the island, that we need to keep talking about those types of mo'olelo and those stories and the smells. The smells that you smell, the chicken farm mixed with the burning sugarcane smell, mixed with everything.
It's so scary, it's so scary because we're watching it kind of right now, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's it's happening here. Over here, we just had a huge wave of development of immigrants, like just migrants moving here. Huge,
same here,
overwhelming, and it's just hood, and it actually gives me I can't even explain the stomach ache. And and it's like, we know because of what you witnessed growing up on Oahu, right? We know what comes of it. I can't imagine to go back to your home and just see all pavement. No, it's like all pavement.
The last time I went back, because one of my closest friends is still in Eva, and she lived right around the corner from where I grew up. And so I would always stay at her house when I go back, and I wouldn't go exercising, and I just started to wear. I was like, everything's changed. The whole shopping center, where Foodland stay, like it was never like that. Have bowling alley, back in the day, just so different. Everybody knew everybody. And so, it's very different, but I still, just because after my parents divorced, I went to Lahaina because my sister was in Lahaina, and that's where my ohana is originally from too. And so same thing, yeah. So you go from one West Coast that's being crazy developed to Lahaina, West Coast being way overdeveloped. And so I'm seeing both of these things from one world to another, and it was very traumatic for me. Now that I'm talking about it, I think it was the time my parents got divorced. I saw all that I had remembered of Honolulu being gone within like that. I mean, that's when they're talking about the marina, like just huge plans. And so I go to Lahaina, and then boom, you see everything change within 10 years after that too. And so I ended up, after Kamehameha, I ended up going to UH Manoa, and I majored in Hawaiian studies. And it was because I had a very dear friend my senior year in high school named Kapali Kiahi from Lahaina. And we were seniors in high school, and I was doing terrible. I was doing real bad because I guess going back to how I was saying, like that time in my life where my parents got divorced and I had to leave Eva, I had to make a new life in Lahaina, and was boarding and just all kinds of crazy stuff, and so I felt very lost, and I started to make really bad decisions. And I met this friend in math class my senior year, Kapali Kiahi, and he just sparked something in me, about the love for our people that I knew I always had, because I was very blessed to have great teachers, the amazing thing about Kamehameha is like, we didn't have the money to go there, but me and my brother went on full scholarship and we had amazing kumu that I'm forever grateful for, you know? And so, you know, my first Hawaiiana teacher was Auntie Nona Beamer, you know, for kindergarten, first grade. And she was the one who planted the seed. She was the one who planted the seed. And my mom would say, come, tell me what mo'olelo you learned today. And I would share whatever I could remember. And so I always loved mo'olelo. And so when I made this friend, we found out about this program called COP, which is College Opportunities Program at UH Manoa. And they still have it. And it's for students who couldn't otherwise get into the University of Hawaii system. Like we would otherwise have to go community college, taking all the prerequisites to work our way up because we really screwed up in high school. You know, I mean, I was a smart kid, but I didn't apply.
It happens. It does. It's not reflective of your intelligence whatsoever. It's a situational thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So once my world started crumbling, I just didn't care. And so by my senior year, I was like, oh, I got to start caring. And so this friend sparked something in me. And I read an article that my ho'opili Noe wrote in the Kamehameha School's newsletter. And it was about, you know, the overthrow. And believe it or not, by my senior year, I wasn't really familiar with the subject of the overthrow. I think most of us actually at that time wasn't, you know, that was like,
I didn't learn really too much at all.
I was like 91, 92. High school. And so I read this article, and that together with my friend Kapali Kiahi, who had this love for everything Hawaiian, really made it clear to me that this is something I want to do. I want to learn more because I felt robbed. I was like, how come I didn't know about the overthrow? How come I didn't even know what the word sovereignty meant until I read this article? I was like, what is this sovereignty word? It's such a big fancy word. I had to look it up. And when I found out what it was, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I just got chicken skin. Yeah, how come? I remember, yeah.
Clueless.
That's such a moment, yeah, when you realize the illegality.
Robbed and cheated. And so you go through this phase. I applied for school and I said, I'm going to be a Hawaiian Studies major. I'm going to learn how to olelo because I refuse for my children to be, you know, for that to be ripped away from them and for them to not even know the difference. I refuse. They're going to be born knowing from the day that they're born who they are. And that was such an easy decision for me. And it literally changed my whole life around. I stopped doing stupid things, you know, like I was partying way too hard. I was just hanging out with the wrong people, but everything changed. I was just like, I gotta surround myself with goodness if I'm gonna do good for my people. And my whole life turned around. And I give a lot of the credit to those two ho'opili of mine. And so all three of us went on this path together and became Hawaiian Studies majors. And we were all very blessed in that we were all mentored in different ways, not together at the same time, by Haunani K. Trask. And so she took us.
There you go.
Yeah, she took us under her wing. She took, you know, handfuls at a time. Like there would be like waves. Right. And so she would take, you know, as many as she could really, really mentor. And I remember when I first became a Hawaiian Studies major, she said she had Kuikalahiki was like a Hawaiian student union that was existing at the time. And so that was the wave that was there before me. And I was looking up to these juniors and seniors, Hawaiian Studies majors. You know, right before I came, had Kalekoa, had, you know, Kahele, had all of those guys. So I'm like looking up to these heroes, you know. And so I aspired for that. And so when I had the opportunity to run for a Hawaiian slate, which Haunani mentored us, it was me, Helani Sonora, Kalawai Amor, Pohaku Stone, like we all ran at the same time, you know. And Haunani said, you know, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna help you guys, and we're gonna do this because we need to have majority on that, on the vote, you know, when we're making decisions about Manoa and its student body. And so it was just the coolest thing, you know. And so it was this 2 years of being mentored. And I wasn't, you know, it was funny because I wasn't like a honor roll student, but when it came to Hawaiian Studies classes, it was like pretty much almost all straight A's. I think I had like 2 B's, but I loved it. I mean, you didn't even have to twist my arm to go to any of those classes. You know, taking genealogies with Lilikala, Kame'elehiva, Maka'olelo Vale no. I mean, mind blown. you know, and I started to realize like, there's no way I was put into this place by accident. And more and more things started to play out in my path. And we know, you know, when you start seeing this whole Ailona and you're like, this isn't coincidence. So one of the next profound moment that happened to me was, I was a sophomore and I wanted to take a junior class that I didn't take the prerequisite for, which was genealogies with Lily Kala. I had to take this before I took post-contact chiefs. And so I wanted to go straight into post-contact chiefs. And so I don't know why something drew me into that class. So I'm sitting in this class with all these seniors, you know, and stuff. And I'm a baby in there, but I'm just like soaking it in. And the professor was Kanalu Young, Terry Young. And so he asked me, because I was a baby and I was like so eager, a lot of times we would take turns being his hands. So he would, you know, say, okay, write this. And we would do the outline for him on the board. And after a while, I was like the first to volunteer, you know, I loved it because it helped me to retain.
I did that too for him.
Did you? Isn't it so
on the board? I like the kind, it was just 107. And I guess I would go, and by the end of the semester, I had no notes.
But soak it all in.
He'd be like, okay, are you ready? And I go up and like, just go to front. The same thing.
But it helped me. It helped me.
That's why I loved it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. So one day after class, I stayed after, I forget why. And because he reminded, his face reminded me of a family member, and I couldn't put my hand on it, my finger on it. So I walked up to him after class. I was so like, still, you know, ha'alulu, walk up to him and I said, you know, you went to Kamehameha, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, oh, what year? And I forget what year. Maybe 72, something like that, 70 something. And he tells me the year and I go,
1972.
72, yeah. And then I go, my uncle went there, but I don't know. I think he's a little younger or older than you. He goes, who's your uncle? I go, Wayne Chang. And he goes, Wayne Chang?
Older.
Yeah, older. He goes, I think he's 69. Yeah? He goes, 69, but we was in high school at the same time. He goes, how is Wayne Chang your uncle? And I said, well, that's my grandma's brother. My grandma is Eileen Chang. And her other brother is Walter Chang, you know, the teacher that was teaching up there. Yeah, Walter Chang, Wayne Chang, Ata Chang, you know. So I start to tell him who my family is. And he looks at me and goes, you don't have to tell me anymore. He goes, we're Ohana. And I go, what?
Aww.
So he said, your grandma's sister has been caring for me, has been my primary caretaker all these years. Yeah. And so I had been.
Your grandma's sister?
Grandma's sister, and I wasn't close to her. Yeah, so she was taking care of him all the years because we Ohana, like we're literally cousins. Because I didn't grow up close to my dad's side, the Chang side, but I knew who certain family members were.
Right.
But because of that, I didn't know my whole mo'okuauhau. So at that moment, he sat me down, and he said, "Open up your notebook." He said, "Do you have time?" I said, I have time.
Make time, I'll make time.
Already. And he starts to map out our whole mo'okuauhau. And I never knew. Wow. I grew up going Kamehameha. I knew I was Kanaka, but I honestly just knew a little bit here and a little bit there. And I think that's a common story. That's a common story for a lot of our Kanaka. We know we Kanaka, but we don't know our family story, you know? And so he made me do the whole family tree, and he starts telling me, you know, Archie Kalepa and Chad Babayan, and these are all my cousins. And I know, like, I grew up in Lahaina knowing who these people are. And he goes, yeah, we related to the Kalepas and the Babayans because your tutu lady, her sister would go marry, you know, go into the Kalepas, and yours is Pali went into the Fairman, and, you know, this and that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I grew up with these people. Kapali Keahi, my ho'opili from senior year, cousin, right? And you don't even know. It's like a real thing. Hawaiians really are like, we're related, you know, and it's because of Ohana, you go back 2,000 years. You know what I mean? But even closer than that, we can find we're all related, you know? So when you say, where is home? Home is Hawaii. Home is Hawaii, you know? And I guess that goes into my next part of my life is after I graduated from Manoa, I went back to Lahaina and lost. I didn't know what to do. I was, Hawaiian studies degree, and I was like, started letting people's words get into my head. One of my uncles was like, Hawaiian studies, what you gonna do with that? What kind of job you gonna get? And so when I moved back to Lahaina, I'm like, what kind of job am I gonna get? I mean, am I gonna end up working in the hotels because that's all there is here? Or, what am I gonna do? So I actually ended up waiting tables because that's what I knew how to do during college.
Right.
And I waiting tables for a year, and I got hapai with my hiapo. And shortly after, I ended up being a professional hula dancer, because that's another thing I knew how to do. But that's all I knew. My sister was a professional hula dancer. Her husband was a fire knife dancer. They raised me when I moved to Lahaina,
Right.
and so I was always around show business. And the whole time I'm getting on stage, over 7 years time, I'm teaching Punana Leo and Kaya Puni in the day, and I'm going to dance hula at night at the Old Lahaina Luau. And, I'm really grateful for that opportunity, but I have to share the side where every single night I felt empty, because I literally could hear how Naniki Trust's voice saying,
Her lovely
"Stop
hula hand.
prostituting your culture, you're better than that." I could hear her telling me that every night, and it would keep me up at night, because I was living this one life in a day where I was an immersion teacher and then going and entertaining tourists that were coming up to me and knocking on my coconuts, And so you're like, what am I doing as a Kanaka? What am I doing? And so many of us struggle with this duality every single day of our lives.
Right.
So we go and we try to be Kanaka in our practices at home and with our families, and then we have to go and work bell desk, valet,
or Walmart or whatever, and
then it just kills your spirit. So we're constantly trying to feed the spirit, and then it's getting ripped out of us, and it's this constant trying to replenish something that we never even replenished in the first place. So I struggled for a long time with that, but the money's good, and the hours is short and easy, and I only gotta dance, Finally, I met went through a divorce, had my 2 keiki, and it was one of the hardest times in my life, and I was completely lost. I was like, I've never done this on my own. You don't get married to get divorced, And a year later, I met my husband now, my kane, Kanakanology Naehu. And we were at the Waikiki show, at the birthday bash, like everybody else, So you meet, that's where you meet them, I bet you everybody has a Waikiki show story. Like you would hook up or whatever, you know what I mean? You would meet this cute guy from another island or whatever. So that was, me and my girlfriends was like, they're like, you're so sad all the time. Let's just go Honolulu. I was like, okay, let's go Honolulu, dragging me over there. We go to Waikiki show, and I'm with Kapalikia again. Am I from Makalani? Francis, and it was a crystal clear scene, and Hano walks up with this camera, and he's doing this show because they're trying to develop La'au Point on Molokaiʻ at the time. And they had a big development battle, and this was like 15 years ago. So he walks up to me with me and Kapali with the camera. He knows Kapali, and he said, "Hey, I'll get you guys mana'o about the development in La'au. I figure if I get enough Kanaka to give their opinion, then maybe people might listen more, because they don't like listen to people from their own island." You know what I mean? I was like, that's a good tactic. That's a good tactic. So he got a backstage pass, and he got mana'o from different guys from the bands about no to La'au Point development. I was like, this is genius, right? Comes back and he asks us, and we're just cruising on the side. And I already had a couple beers in me. So I don't drink anymore, but back in the day I drank. So he said, I can get you mana'o. I said, sure. So we go to the side and start talking, and then as soon as he tells me that La'au is on the west side, I grew up west side. So I know like west side is very special. No Mawara, first of all, you shouldn't be developing anymore. And secondly, that's where all the EVs stay. And so just by him telling me La'au was southwest, I knew that was the same exact, Honolulu is southwest. So I knew what kind of terrain, and I was like, oh no. So I switched modes in the middle of him filming me into Olelo, Hawaii, because like I said, I was feeling kind of good. Fired up, and I was like, I got tears in me. So I was like, oh, ole. I was going off, and then he said, you know, babe, when I saw that fire in you and you went switch to Olelo, I said, oh, that's the way I'm gonna marry. He knew right at the moment. Yeah, right at the moment he said that was the moment when he was like, oh my gosh, like this wahine, this is the one. I know I just met her, you know. And so it was really how it rolled out. The end of the night, he was supposed to go back and interview catch a fire. He never go back. He said he would stay with us. I said, you better go interview them. The show, they gonna come now right now. And he's like, I'm good right here. I'm good right here. And I was like, oh boy, my friends was like hitting me like, oh my God, you know me go.
Not to be sad anymore, no, Maile.
And I said, hey, you ever been to Kaho'olawe at the end of the night? And he goes, and I had only gone once before, but I had just fell in love, you know, and I had a calling to go back and of course go kokua again. And so we were scheduled to go like 2 weeks after the birthday bash. You ever went there? He goes, no. And he said, funny thing, I'm, you know, my like Hanai father is Walt Reedy. He said, but I never got to go. You know, even though Walt, you know, his history, what Molokaiʻs, I still never get one invite for go. So I laugh. I said, I am inviting you. We go. So in 2 weeks from there, we went Ko'olawe, and that's really when we, you know, began to fall in love. And, you know, we were both removed from our islands. And, yeah, and that's when we had our time to realize how we felt. And he would come on the ferry every weekend, go visit me when the ferry was still going. And I was still dancing, I was still teaching. And then finally he proposed, and I was like, oh, I know you're not gonna come Lahaina, I know you're not gonna come Maui. So I guess we going Molokaiʻ. And so going back, I guess, to that, how I was saying, like, I call all of Hawaii my home because I've lived on 3 moku, and my mo'okuauhau goes strong into Kauai and Hawaii Island as well. And so, you know, I think as Kanaka too, it's important for us to see ourselves more as a whole, a lahui, and not be so, this is I from here and that's it, you know, or you from there and that's it, you know, but rather taking kuleana and saying, you know, this is all ohana to us. So that's how I truly feel. And so I've been blessed since I moved to Molokaiʻ to continue teaching, and I made it my #1 thing that I do. And so I've taught at Kaiapuni, and then I moved to Kamehameha, and we went into the DOE schools on Molokaiʻ, where we have high concentration of Kanaka, which is every single school on this island. Pretty much. So that's easy. So that the literacy, the program at Kamehameha, we had plenty of schools in Waimanalo, Nanakuli, Waianae, Molokaiʻ, you know, I think even in Pahoa, the literacy instruction and support.
We do.
Yeah.
It's
so,
awesome.
I know. There's such
so awesome.
Amazing. Department at Kamehameha. So I was blessed to work for them for 7 years. And during the same 7 years, I did my summers at Ho'olauna, Molokaiʻ for Kamehameha as well, you know, doing the summer program here. And then stopped everything when I had my 3rd child with Hano. And I said, you know what? This is my last one. I just know it. And I want to homeschool her because Punana Leo is like, I live almost by Halava. So if you go to it's like driving my kid to Punana Leo and then coming back and then picking her up again. I was like, oh, we got to figure out a plan. And so we was blessed in that we built our home off grid. So, you know, we live off stream water. We have solar energy. We don't have a mortgage. You know, we built the house with our own 2 hands, whatever recycled tiles that Auntie could donate. I mean, we just put some of our creative work into it and elbow grease. And we said, you know, let's try and build a home that's simple enough where I can stay home with baby. We don't have to mortgage. We have a roof over our head. We have running water.
No pressure.
It's freezing cold street water till today. All my showers are freezing cold, but I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's the definition of homesteading.
Yeah. Love it. I mean, we get pigs, we used to have the horses, but they would get out and eat all my vegetables. So I was like, oh, they gotta go up. Ho'olehua. Pigs. And we have we have dogs all over the place. We were just talking about getting ducks. And then we're reopening the lo'i because we're in Honolulu, right? So once I decided to stay home with baby, my husband is a kia'i loko. He was at Kawanui for 20 years under Uncle Walt Riddy, and the other kia'i is Kalani'ua already. And last year, right before pandemic, Uncle Walt gave Huiokuapa, the nonprofit organization that was established in 1989 to start the restoration of all the fish ponds on Molokaiʻi. He gifted it to Hano Hano. And so we brought it out more east. So if you're familiar with Kawanui, it's like 12-mile marker east,
Right.
20-mile marker. So there's fish ponds all along the whole southern coast. So the fish pond within our ahupua'a, he's a dudwa. So we live where all the dudwa, aina, Antimoanas, the buses all over there. That's all one ahupua'a komimi. So that's where we live. And so we wanted to just start right in our ahupua'a. And he said, we get the ohana, we get lo'i that's all grown over. We get a fish pond that's been in disrepair since 1901, and so why don't we just bring Huiokuapa to Kumimi, and being the educators that we are and kia'i that he is, we can right here and create another educational hub on Molokai, because we don't have enough. The kids only go this place so many times and this place so many times, and then you've seen it all, so Molokai isn't like even Hawaii Island. Like you guys can see so many things. Molokai, we only get the southern coast. That's all, one road, southern coast, so whatever is there is what the kids have available to experience, and we wanted to create something else. So besides the whole aloha aina education that we do a lot of the arts. We're both hip-hop artists. So, we have our hip hop album, The Tip of the Spear, and we have
Yes, I love it. Love it. I'm a fan.
Yay!
Can't wait for you guys to come over here.
Yeah, we got to perform down Kalapana, and it was like the highlight of my life.
I was there.
Oh,
I was there.
It was so
I was there.
Oh my God,
When?
my voice.
When did you do that?
It was we was up at the Mauna, and then we saw Ikaikura.
It wasn't that long ago. It was like 2019, I think. Yeah. Right before the pandemic. It wasn't too long ago.
It was like last August or September. Yeah. And so every time we went up to the Mauna, because we got to go up there maybe 3-4 times, but we would always go to the same tents that would malama us. It was like Kaika Marzorem's tent and Dynamite's tent. They was like right next to each other. So we were there when then he said, hey, when are you guys going back? I said, tomorrow. And he said, why, you would change your flight or what if I could get you guys in at Uncle Robert's? Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, Uncle Robert's.
And I had never been down there. Like I heard legendary, and I was like,
end of the road.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, we'll change our flights. So we changed our flights. And a really sweet friend was like, I have an extra room. You can stay there overnight. I know it's going to be too far for drive back to Hilo. Because Laura Acacio she's married to my husband's cousin. Lino is my husband's cousin. So whenever we went mountain, we would stay there, living room, the big pune in their living room. And so they said, Hilo's too far back to drive back to Laura's house. So we just stayed out there, and it was so good fun. It was such a beautiful night. I mean, I had never experienced anything like that in my life. Yeah, it was joyous.
It's very sovereign.
Like that.
What's that?
Why don't you create something like this over there?
I know. Oh man,
I live in Kalapana.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
It's very sovereign. Yeah, it's such a feeling. Yeah. It's so joyous.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
So, Kali, are you born and raised in Kalapana?
No.
No, you've been there for a long time.
Yeah, enough. Yeah, long enough.
One of my mom's closest friends in Eva, she moved in when I said everybody moved from like Pololo and wherever else to these new houses, affordable houses in Eva. And one of her closest friends was Ledward and Edward's sister, Lay. So we would be at Auntie Lay's house all the time, and the
Wow.
Kanikapila, my mom liked to do the pakini action. My mom is actually she's pure Borinqui. She's Puerto Rican,
Wow.
Kalihi Valley, but she has a deep love for Hawaiian music, even more than my dad. And my dad's the one who's Kanaka. But yeah, such great.
Wow.
Kalapana, just the feeling that place gave me was just, whew, good stuff.
Just people just Ara Ohana just sit down and they just play music and everybody just comes and just come. They just
That's how we
come and
remember, yeah, when we was little. Like I have very sweet memories of Kanikapila, to the wee hour, falling asleep, and you just hear them still singing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a time.
Mm-hmm.
I know this month's edition of Kawai Oha's paper is all about pretty much Molokai.
Oh, really? I gotta see
there's
it.
about Yabenui is the front picture.
Oh, beautiful, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one.
And then the inside.
They talk about the limu stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just started farming limu during the pandemic, and it's going really well. Yeah, they're doing great over there. They're doing great. Yeah. So Hano, all the kia'i from there, they're helping us to restore Ohalahala fish pond, which was a fish pond in Kumimi. And that's really exciting. So that one is attached to, if you're familiar with, they call it Morris Point, which is Kumimi Point. Right after 20 mile marker, get that real nice beach. And so get one point. And so the fish pond actually comes from the point to the shore. So it's very protected because of the point. And so what we noticed was we actually relocated the spring, which we never knew was there, right? And that's the thing, like when you start to become kia'i or work the aina, you start to realize there's puna everywhere. It's been smothered, right? And so why have we been robbed of the ability to surface water? It's ridiculous, the manipulation of vai, and so we saw the puna and was like, oh my gosh, it's still alive. There's still a puna here, because you need the brackish water environment. Oh man, it was so exciting. And so the kia'i from Kawanui, they come over every once in a while and they do a big, work day with us. And so the kuapa is slowly starting to come up, and it's so exciting. So we cannot wait till we can finally bring keiki in, and do a whole day. So
So how big is that fish pond that you're talking?
The wall, the kuapa itself is probably about 100 yards.
Wow.
It's not real big, but it's nice size. Yeah, it's about 100 yards, but like Kawanui is 2,000 feet.
Yeah, but they have the jellyfish, yeah?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's from that guy next door or something.
Yeah, the shrimp farm. Yeah, so it's just a problem everywhere around that area, and I think like they really like the climate. They're protected because the whole southern coast of Molokai is this like mud flats almost.
Right.
So much erosion, and so the reef break is farther out. So these jellyfish like being very protected. And where's the most protected areas? The local i'a. It's super protected.
Oh, wow.
They have babies like you can't even see them. There's a billion babies. It's like they're they just, and you can't see them.
No more predators.
No, the only natural predator when they did research was the hawksbill turtle. And it was like, what are we gonna do? Bring some hawksbills in the pond, and then hopefully they eat them, but it was like, no, that's so illegal. So it was like, what do we do?
Why?
I don't know. Well, I don't even know if they really were serious about doing it, but then they started to actually research other ways, that we could control. So the guys got a huge grant. Well, not huge, actually. It was just for summer, but it was enough to get extra hands to work for the summer and help with the eradication. But I tell you, my husband was out there 4 or 5 days a week for 5-6 hours in the full waders, full body waders, because they cannot get stung, full arm gloves, just totally protected. And they were literally just scooping out with this big net, scooping out jellyfish. And by the end of the day, they would like guesstimate how much they did, and they were doing between 6 to 8 tons a day of jellyfish
What?
on the shore.
Is there
And
any
these
use
for
for
6
it?
hours straight. What's that?
Is there any use for it? Fertilizer or
I
something?
heard that it has collagen in it, but it's like, oh, what are we gonna do? We're gonna start
Collagen
one
fat
collagen
processing
factory.
plant, you know?
Hey,
That's what
talk
it's
to Korea and Japan. I don't know.
No, yeah, and then the Koreans eat it, but we're like, how the hell
They
we
do?
give a market for
They
these
do?
things? Oh, they're so gross. They do, yeah. So they
Wow.
Korean
Well,
people have
that's a predator.
right. So yeah, but I don't know what they're doing now. But I heard that they're actually diminishing because what we kept being told was throughout time, local i'a go through
Yeah.
these cycles. They
Right.
go through like over blooming of algae where everything just dies off, or they get these jellyfish, invasions. And so storms or cycles or whatever happens naturally, and then they just kind of get pushed out or they die off. But I heard that they came from like Southeast Asia, at the bottom of ships,
Yeah.
just like the mangrove.
Right.
And they go hand in, you know what those jellyfish are called? They're called mangrove jellyfish.
Oh, figures.
They go hand in hand. So that's why I'm like, so they did a huge eradication. But thank God where we are in Kumimi, no more mangrove because it's just no more enough fresh water. So different as you go farther up east towards Halava, you won't find that more muddy flats anymore. The ocean changes a little bit. But yeah, I hear the cookie over there.
It's probably my house, not cool.
Yeah.
She kills hers. Her house is like the quietest house I know.
I hunt them. You guys,
how do
you
you
don't have a
find them?
Molokaiʻ, right?
They're noisy.
Oh.
You wait for nighttime, you find one. Only
Ole.
now where I live, it's like billions, so lost
Bro.
cause. But down there,
And then you just don't hear them anymore. That's like the chickens. I don't hear the chickens anymore. When I first came, because the neighbor get, fighting chicken action, like choke. And so at first I'm like, that chicken. No, I don't even hear them. I don't even have my friends come over. They're like, oh, chicken. I'm like, oh. I don't hear them anymore. It used to drive me nuts. Already. Yeah. So funny living in the country.
Well, so did you start your own Olelo school too then?
Yes, yeah. So it's not just Olelo. I mean, the first program that I created was Olelo, which was the Keiki program. But I offer different types of curriculum. They're all based and founded in Ike, Hawaii. Olelo no iao, mo'olelo, oli, hula, all the things I love and the things I know is what I put into it, and a lot of aloha ina, because we walk the talk, and we're really proud of that. And so I can apply those things to what I teach. I don't think I cannot teach something I don't know. I just cannot. So I stay in my comfortable zone. And so I combine all the things that I've done in the past, whether it was immersion teaching or teaching literacy, or dancing hula and learning oli as a olapa. All the different, being a professional performer, because I love being on stage. And then, that channeling that energy into teaching children performing arts and stuff like that, which there isn't a lot of on this island. And so I started to, just create this school around all the things that I know well. And I love it a lot because it literally comes right off of my off the grid home on Molokaiʻ. And my two older keiki, my hiapo is 21. He's a senior at Pomona College. They're both Molokaiʻ High School graduates. Yeah, so he's a music major at Pomona.
Wow.
Yeah, and he helps me now, and it's like full circle, because how I was saying, like, before I even had keiki, I was like, I'm gonna learn this for them. I mean, it sounds so cheesy, but really. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what a gift for my hiapo. And then my ku'uwaina, my middle child, she's first Molokaiʻ graduate to get into Princeton. So she's in sophomore year. I know. It's crazy.
And what is she taking up over
The
there?
Panula Prince Bib is going Princeton.
He's like, oh, I can write that on my resume now. It's so funny. I'm like, you can. You gotta work hard for that one. You have to raise that. You have to raise that smart one. You know what I mean? It wasn't easy.
Wow.
Congratulations, sis. That is amazing.
Amazing.
Awesome. Ivy League.
But what is he going into? What is he studying?
She actually, the middle one is
Kapili.
Mahine, and she's majoring. Her name is Kapili, and she's majoring in arts, in archaeology, with an emphasis in visual arts and creative writing. So she's a poet, she's a painter, yeah. And so she actually was really blessed, and she got to design gosh, I keep forgetting the story of Hawaii 3. Tita. Oh, I forgot what the name of the book is. There's too many puke in my mind, but she got to design the cover of a puke recently. The one that they have like excerpts from different writers, Kuka Kalau and John Osorio and so forth. What is the name of that puke? But yeah, she designed the cover of it. So she's my artist for our online school. She does all of our illustrations, and Kahale is our resident musician. So what's the name of the puke that you painted the cover for? Value of Hawaii 3.
Wow.
Value of Hawaii, yeah. So it's nice to have them at home. And so what we did was I immediately shifted during pandemic, and I couldn't work my job at Kuala Pu'u School. I do the Hawaiian cultural arts consulting there at the school. So I designed curriculum for the teachers to integrate. Because they're required to teach this Nahopena.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So these teachers are like, I don't know how to do this stuff. I mean, so I loved it. I've been doing it the last 2 years, where I help them to create these curriculums. I co-teach with them. So I did it virtually with the kids all year, but at the same time, I was doing Kahale Hoaka. So shut down. So all my keiki not gonna have any, I cannot go visit my keiki at school anymore. All these keiki are at home with no school. Nobody knew what was going on. It was like literally March, 17?
Right.
20, And so by the 23rd, my girlfriend called me from Lahaina, and she said, I'm raising my kids in Tahoe, my Kanaka children in Tahoe, and I have one wish, because she had lost her husband the year prior. 2 little kids lost their daddy, and she contacted me and she said, I'm raising these Kanaka children, and the one thing that me and Steven, her husband who passed, promised each other is that we would make sure our children knew who they were, no matter where they were in this world. And I want you to teach them.
You're the one that came on the computer, and you had this whole curriculum to teach Kanaka kids. That's you. I was like looking at you, I was like, where did I see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I created the Keiki program. So the Keiki program is like beginning Olelo Hawaii. But that's like a paid curriculum. I think it's really affordable. It's like $29. It's literally 16 full-on lessons to learn all the beginning basics of Olelo Hawaii. But we also create tons of free curriculum too, because being Kanaka, I'm like, I can't, but I still have to make a living.
Right.
I still my kids that was working for me, there was my first 2 employees. Now we have 3 more employees, like other, other Opio from Hawaii. I have Lily Makika Whitaker. I'm like so stoked to have her right now. And then I have Kanoa Cleveland from Honolulu, and I have Leah Huff from Makaha that's living in Texas, and we can do it all remotely. So we're creating curriculums, not just in Olelo Hawaii, but I'm teaching science through a Hawaiian lens. Everything's pre-recorded. We have like top of the line equipment. We built an art studio right next to our house that's off-grid too. Got some good lighting, got some good cameras. The basics, like I literally started with nothing. And my girlfriend that was like, I'm gonna help you through this, because she wanted me to teach her kids. And she said, you know what? Let's take it a step further, because she's just an incredible entrepreneur. She actually opened the first marijuana dispensary in Hawaii, and she still owns it and runs it. And she had a chicken farm, and they had all these amazing businesses, and they're very successful. And she said, I know how to do this. If you want to do a school where anybody, because we have more Kanaka around the world than in Hawaii. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. So immediately she was on the marketing end, and she was like, just do what you do. And she helped me with financial backing and said, let's get you a good camera. Let's get you some good lights. Let's get you whatever you need to get high quality video production and media, resource media. So we started to build this super extensive, really momona curriculum. So I have Keaone, which is a, science, Hawaiian perspective science curriculum from K through 6. And we have charter schools using it, and we have homeschoolers using it. We also, we have this amazing contract that we just got with Kanakanology, Ka'oha, their online program. So they gave us the honor of helping them decolonize their curriculum, because they were the online families, the homeschooling families were given this free curriculum, that the state offers, and they're like, oh my gosh, Maile, help. I said, let's do it. Are you giving me permission to go all out there? They're like, just do you. I'm like, yeah. So I can finally teach stuff that like I couldn't before, because they're charter and they have freedom, they have autonomy. And I'm like, oh, this is a dream. And so I guess me leaving to take care of my baby years ago was, was all meant to be, in that I didn't want to be working under the state anymore. I wanted to be my own boss, and I wanted to teach the way I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach the way I taught my own children, and give them a really strong balance of culture, language, the arts. The arts is huge in my family, and that's who we are as Kanaka. This piece chunk missing in our educational system. If you want to teach a kid about science, teach them about the art in science. And that's how Kanakas see things. The Western world sees art separate from science, separate from social studies, separate from math. We're like, no, like there's math, science, and art in everything we do, So that's what my curriculum does. It meshes all those different content areas and goes, hey, you know what, teachers, you don't have to teach 4 different subjects in a day. Just teach project-based with this framework that I have for you. And I leave a lot of room in my curriculums for teachers to make it more specific or place-based if they want to. So a beginning teacher could just use my basic curriculum, but a more advanced Kayapuni teacher can take my curriculum and they can go real deep, because they can. So, but what I found from teachers is they're like, Maile, this is really exciting, because you're offering even Kumu a chance to sit back and just press play and do the journal entry with the kids, to do the artwork, because I'm teaching on the big screen, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. So a few teachers have told me that, and I said, that's one of the first things I recommend when I consult teachers one-on-one, is there's nothing more powerful than peer teaching. So when you're even the babies see their teaching sitting in a circle and coloring with them, or just doing whatever they're doing with them, it just makes sense, right? You don't want to be the parent that goes, do this, do that, but I'm not going to do it myself.
Right.
So I was like, oh my gosh, that was a big epiphany for me, that besides helping Keiki to learn who they are, or who, even the Kama'aina, Koko Ole, this is their home. This is a place that they have, this is the only place they've ever known, And so we need to give those Keiki as well a sense of kuleana, because there's a big attachment there. Kanaka, but no, like if you Keiki Kama'aina, you Keiki Kama'aina, you get kuleana.
You get kuleana.
You get kuleana.
Still drinking this vai. You're still drinking this vai.
Right. And so that's another big part of my curriculum, is that it's not just for Kanaka. I really think that the approach to Kanaka way of learning can save the planet. Save the planet. And it's not just Kanaka, but indigenous. The indigenous approach to teaching is so vital. It's centered in those things, in spirituality, in the arts, in the song, in the dance. Yeah, and that's just as crucial as learning the science. It's the same. Our hula, our mele is science.
It's poetical science.
Right. And so I just wanted to, these are the things that saved me, going back to when I was a kid and I was lost. And I really was going to end up in jail. Like I got arrested at 16, for shoplifting, but still I was making stupid choices, and if I kept on that path, And something, my kupuna put that newspaper in front of me and say, read this story about the overthrow. And then my kupuna went, put me in Kanalu's class and made me go up to him and say who I was. And my kupuna made all these different things jump out into my path. And I think I just recognized those things. So as Kanaka, I can just share my story and hopefully, you know, inspire others to notice those little moments when it's more than just you. And maybe your choices and your decisions are already laid out for you by your kupuna. There's thousands of them that are always around us. And I think once I started to open myself up to those types of experiences and receiving, then these, you know, blessings started to come because I wasn't fighting them. And more experiences for my family to create together and experience this movement together. You know, it's a weird time when I got to create virtual curriculum. I don't like not being able to touch and hug my haumana, but I know that there's a need for it. So if I could be a medium, and it's not meant for me to just go and teach somebody, it's meant for a parent or makua to be there with their child. It's meant for a kumu to be there with the haumana, not for the keiki to be just alone with me. I think the important part is that human interaction too in education. So babbling on.
No, not at all. It's really exciting, and I just love the opportunity. And I feel like this is such a huge part of where we are in the education system because I'm a DOE teacher. Also with a large Native Hawaiian population, over 52% of our student body is Native Hawaiian at the school I work. And you know, and so it's really important to give that our faculty is not 52%.
Oh yeah.
It's
and
not,
there's a new
I'm not Hawaiian, you know, and I'm teaching Hawaiian history, you know, and so that's how it is. And so providing for the Kanaka, if you know, at this point to provide the resources for the kumu is critical, and the training and the professional development support, because irregardless of koko or koko ole, we're the ones in charge of teaching our students.
Absolutely.
We're in Hawaii.
And that can
so, you know, it's like, are we going to continue to be part of the same problem? Or are we going to huli and begin to really take the kuleana? And so it's really amazing. I can't wait. I'm going to go look even deeper into looking into this and how to integrate, even though but even just I'm thinking even for like our ohana family nights or something, you know,
totally
like that kind of use or application, because once the beauty of the pandemic is that it inspired this vessel.
I know
You know?
it's stuff that I never had the time to do.
Yeah,
because people would be like, oh, you can fly Honolulu, you can go Hilo for the workshop or teach for the day, and then that's it, I leave. And I'm like, you know, I always wanted to be able to offer, because I do youth art camps that are based in Mo'olelo. So we did a whole art camp based on like Pikoi, or you know, and then one about Pele and Hiyaka, and so it's an opportunity, you know, that I wanted to be able to extend outwards. So what I was gonna tell you is I have a lot of stuff on YouTube as well under Kahale Huaka, our channel. And you can use that like for your family night. So I have some art activities. I have helu helu and mele, like read aloud and then you learn a song.
It's so perfect, because this is what is so needed too, Tia. I think it's really that you know, once the resource is out there, it removes the pressure to
planning, and
it removes the pressure that now all of these teachers, and we have plenty, at least I'm of Pohoa, you know, I'm a 12-year dagger, you know, but many people at the school, then they just came here, and they don't, and it's not for lack, like they're super down, but they just don't have the content.
And
so, you know, providing the content, and they will deliver it. They're down for the cause.
And
but,
they have an opportunity to sit back and learn with the kids, right?
Right.
And that's so
love
powerful.
it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I had a brand new teacher, same thing. She just moved from the mainland. 4th grade teacher. That's a standard in 4th grade. You got to teach Hawaiian studies and Hawaiian sisters, the system of ahupua'a and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So she's like, Maile, help me. So I was consulting her, and then I had her use my Keaune curriculum, and she was like, she wrote a beautiful letter to me at the end of the year, and she said, I don't think you realize what you did for it wasn't just for the kids, but you made me feel more confident as a teacher here in Hawaii. Like, she had to learn how to do her mo'okuauhau along with all these, they're all English speaking kids. I was like, why can't they learn how? But I tell you, any kid that learns their mo'okuauhau, like by the end of the school year, when these fourth graders were doing it, they stood a little straighter.
That's
they
right.
talked a little louder. It was a beautiful thing to witness. And I think that that's the thing that will stop our kids from floating around. All of our brown skin keiki, they're all floating around, and it's because they're not hearing stories that are their stories. They're being teachers that being taught by teachers that just moved from wherever else that cannot relate to these keiki. So they have all these obstacles, things against them, So if I could just offer something to make it a little easier for Kumu and Keiki, then. But yeah, please go check it out. Go check it out.
It is. It's so exciting. And I would like to ask you something we always ask our guests, and I think it's something just to, pull it together, because thank you so much for sharing your mo'olelo. And I think it's really amazing to get to know you and to see how the process, and really, there's a lot, thank you so much. There's a lot I'm gonna be sitting with and really reflecting on, and that idea of the expanse and the interconnectedness of all Kanaka, and that greater expanse of how it is a kopai'aina thing, and the unity,
Oh, I got chicken skin.
And and I guess our question is, what would you like your legacy to be as you move forward? No pressure. Nah.
I think part of it is what you're just saying, is that I'm seeing this kind of magical thing happen where I would say close to half of my enrolled Haumana online are Kanaka that are not in Hawaii. And so that's one of my goals. And then, of course, my other goal is to service my Kanaka here at home, but not just them, but to make Hawaii as a whole more comfortable with speaking Hawaiian, because we stay in Hawaii. I don't care if you're Hawaiian or not. Learn your host language. You're not going to Brazil without knowing Portuguese. You're not going to, they're not even Portugal, but you're not going to go to Japan and not speak Japanese, And so it just makes sense. And I want to break down the barriers of people thinking that they're not Hawaiian enough. I mean, trust me, I was that kid growing up being called holy crap. Even though I went Kamehameha schools and was a Hawaiian, I was a fair-skinned Hawaiian. So we get obstacles of us judging each other by the way we look. And then even if we look Hawaiian, all these other, symptoms of oppression that we take with us, and we go, I'm not good enough to learn, or being koko'ole and saying, no, that's not my territory. What are the obstacles that are stopping us? And I want my goal is to get Hawaii to be or Olelo Hawaii, and just that way of thinking, just normal. That's just normal. That's just how. And I don't
automatic.
I can't do it all on my own. I think we have a beautiful lahui, and we have some amazing leaders that are already breaking those chains. And it's a different time. When I was in college, it was that stage of decolonization for me that I think a lot of Hawaiians, it was still 90s, 80s. We was angry still yet.
Yeah.
It was angry. And then we got real sad, and we cry all the time. I remember how Nani would be like, you can pray and cry all you like, but that's not going to save the lahui. She would tell it, and I'll be like, oh, that's so harsh, but it's true. We got to get educated. We got to work from a place of aloha, and so I guess that's my goal, is to make our people feel empowered through identity, create educational opportunity.
Hawaii is our kuleana.
It's our kuleana. I mean, Pau, it is hakaka. This is, Hawaiians fighting Hawaiians, like just so much division. And we all have one thing in common, and that is aloha ina, aloha ina. And if you're over here and you know aloha ina, then you don't belong over here. That's how I feel. You
Yeah.
know, and that's just the bottom line. And if you're gonna aloha this aina and you're gonna stay over here, then then maybe consider taking the next step. And I'm not saying you have to olelo, because some people are like, oh, she's saying that enough Hawaiian enough. If I know olelo, I'll olelo. That's the complete opposite of what I'm saying. You look at what it's done to us, you know, where we got to judge each other whether you olelo or not. Olelo. And you aloha the way I aloha aina. Can I aloha aina the way she deserves to be loved, you know? And so through those teachings, I guess that's my goal, is just to heal Hawaii, to hopefully restore our sovereignty, but that's a whole nother conversation. But
It's on the list, but it's on the list.
That's my goal, is education and empowerment through identity and kuleana and aloha.
Thank you so much.
That's beautiful. I support you. Let's do this. It's awesome.
We're in it together. We're in it together. No kalahui. And lahui is koko ole and koko, okay? And we all in it. We all in it. We all in it. We need everybody koko kua on this one. It's gonna be a glorious day.
Yes.
And I like to leave one quote.
Okay.
I think it was Kihe Nahalea. He told us one time, he said, one generation's knowledge becomes the next generation's wisdom, and then becomes the next generation's being. So it's think, where are you? What generation? Where are you? And then the beautiful thing is, once you make the change, like when I decided, I'm gonna major and I'm gonna relearn who I am, my kids are already stepping into their being.
Yes.
Like they're in that generation. It's like that's all they know.
Yeah.
And it's in our lifetime.
Yes.
You know, so I guess that's my goal, is that you know, our families in Hawaii will make that next step and say, am I in a phase of wisdom or knowledge, so that my children or grandchildren will be able to be born into their being. Just that's the only way it is. Yeah. So
yeah, happening already.
It's pretty cool.
Exciting time. Exciting time.
Very cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mahalo nui. Mahalo nui. We'll be back next week for Kanakanology, 7 o'clock. Ahui ho kako.
Ahui ho.